Weather update. It's raining again. Absolutely miserable. I mean, what is the point? Anyway, I got some amps to build. Right, just had a couple of cool things dropped in to the workshop. The first of which is this Vox AC30 CC2X. So this is one of the reissue models, and it's come in because the owner has owned this for a good number of years now and has decided it's now time that he wants to sell it, and it needs a good check over and a service. His main complaint is that it is making there is a mechanical buzz stroke rattle when you play like an open G string or fifth fret on the D string. Around that frequency there is a mechanical buzz rattle coming through, and it appears to not come through the speaker, so it's not something in the signal path, it's something going on mechanically. So we need to look at that. When he dropped it off, however, I did notice that it has got a rather excessive 100 Hz hum, which I will demonstrate to you now. Right, so hopefully this comes across. I've got the FFT plot open, and when I stop talking, you'll see that we've got a peak at 100 Hz, and we've got harmonics at 2 and 4, I think. Let's have a look. And if you notice, our 100 Hz peak is roughly -50 dB. Ideally, you want that closer to -72. That's usually a reasonable background noise. So this is quite noisy, and hopefully this microphone, if I hold up to the speaker, will pick up that hum. I can also hear quite a bit of rustling and crackling going on through the speaker as well. So there's something going on internally with the circuit. Might be valves, might be some solder joints, might be some noisy components. So we need to get into this and have a look. It's got a top boost channel, amongst other things, and it's loaded with, if I just come around, I'll show you the rear. It's got two Vox blue reissues. Brilliant. Here's the back panel. And look, when this was sold new, £899. Bargain. Although it's probably quite expensive back then. But this is the rear panel. Look at that. It's got switchable cathode bias resistors from 82 to 50 ohms. I wonder, actually, yeah, let me just set this up. Should we switch those and listen to the effect? Let's do that live. Where is my screwdriver? There it is. So I'll just put the mic there, and hopefully you're picking that up again. And we'll come around. First thing we'll do is we'll move the bias from hot to warm. I didn't hear a difference. We'll move it back. Yep, no change. It's also got a smoothing cap switch between modern and vintage, and it's currently on the vintage setting, which is 22 microfarad. So we switch it down to 44, see if it makes a difference. Oh, it did. Let's get some data on that then. So before, our 100 Hz is roughly -50, and our 200 harmonic is, call that 58. Let's go around and switch it and see what we get. That's actually a noticeable change. So we'll now go to 44 microfarad. Come back round. Look at that difference. That's interesting. So is one of those filter caps leaky and noisy? Need to get into that and have a look. But there you go. Right, so that's the first thing he dropped in, but you're not going to believe what else he's brought in for me to look at. So some of you might recognise what this is, and others of you will have no idea. So this is a 1960s, and we think it's a 1961. This is called the Argyle Minor tape deck. Unbelievable. This is made by the Fidelity, I think they're called Fidelity Radio Company. I think, if I remember. Yeah, Fidelity. Now this one, owned by the same customer as the AC30 reissue, has kept this in immaculate condition. I mean, this thing, I don't know what it is about time capsules this week, but this thing is just, it's clean, and it's got the original hang tag covered in Rexine, a nitrocellulose product of Imperial Chemical Industries Limited. Fidelity Radio. It's like this two-tone luggage, brown and fawn style, with the lovely gold grille. Hopefully we can all see that well. So yeah, a real, excuse the pun, vintage tape deck. Let's remove the lid, put that to one side, and let's have a look at it. So he's kindly provided for me both the schematic for the Argyle Minor, which we will go through, and general description. So it's a single speed tape deck running at 3 3/4 inches per second, so that's the speed of the tape. Dual track portable tape recorder with a BSR tape deck, approximate weight of 16 pounds. Runs on AC mains 200 to 250 volts. 3-valve unit. It's got a ECC83, a DM70, and an EL84 output valve with a metal rectifier. So we have to open it up to see what's going on there. Voltage is shown on schematic, measured, blah, 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 with 230 volt mains input. Servicing notes. The erase head should have a minimum of 20 volts across it. Recording head bias should be approximately 50 to 80 volts. Since these voltages are at 50 kilocycles per second or 50 hertz, they can be measured only with a valve voltmeter. Well, we can now measure with modern voltmeters. Right. So that's the chassis layout there. Component layout, they call it. So what have we got? So here's our tapes on top. Got our play, record, and erase heads. I assume it's got a record head. We'll have to check. Yes, I said it did, didn't I? We've got a forward and reverse, and another control here. We've got the recording level or volume. Okay, rotary dial. Recording level indicator, and we've got an on-off switch. Okay. So we spin this round and look at the rear. I'll try and get you zoomed in and give you a better look at what's going on. So the Argyle Minor, serial number 3290. I'm reading this upside down. AC only, 200 to 250 volts, 50 cycles. Disconnect from mains before making internal adjustments, obviously. Right, so we've got, apparently it's got an internal speaker, but it's also got an external loudspeaker connection there. We've got 2 inputs, one for a radiogram and one for a microphone as well. So you can connect an internal and external source to this. To the left, we've got this little trap door, which if I rotate 90 degrees, will open. and inside is our mains cable. Now, he's told me he's fitted a modern plug to it. There we go. Why has he done that? Well, because it originally came with this plug here, but it was actually fitted with this thing here. This was the mains plug, and this was designed so you could plug it into a light socket, a light bulb socket, you see, the bayonet style. So you wouldn't plug it into a wall socket. You could, as a portable unit, plug it into your bedside lamp or similar. I haven't seen one of those in absolute decades. Well, at least 10 years last time I saw one of these. Made in England. Look at that. How cool is that? So you could plug it, that was on the end of the wire, and you just plug it in, remove your light bulb, plug that into the socket, and that would power this unit. Yeah. So that's the unit, and he says it's very low output. It is passing audio, but it's very, very, very quiet. He'd like to get the thing working. First of all, because this is an unknown tape to him, and he'd like to hear what's on it. But also, he says at home, he's got some old tapes which have got his dad's voice on. Some tapes that his dad recorded, and he said he lost his dad when he was only 5 years old. So he'd really like to hear those recordings that his dad made of his voice, and he'd like to hear it on this piece of equipment. So we're going to get this thing going. We're going to get it working for him. Now, in terms of servicing old equipment, as I explained to the customer, the audio amplifier side is pretty easy. I mean, this is no more complicated than a Fender Champ, for example. Got your inputs here into your first stage, your ECC83. Well, we're familiar with those. So we've got the first stage of amplification here through a coupling cap into your volume control, which then drives the second stage of amplification, which is the second half of that ECC83. We come out of there, and then we're then into the next stage of amplification, which where am I looking at this? It hasn't listed what valve that one is. That's it thing. That's your EL34. So that must be the other triad. What do they call it? A DM70. And I don't know what a DM70 is. I need to look that one up. We'll have to get the old valve manual out. So we're into the output, positive feedback, record and play head tape, and then into your EL84 output valve. Here's your mains transformer. That's your loudspeaker. That's the erase head. I think that's right. First time I've studied this, so you have to bear with me. Catching up. So yeah, but as far as an amplifier goes, it's very simple. Very simple indeed. The difficulty, however, is servicing the tape deck unit itself. All the bits for the amplifier section will be available when I can get, use modern components and bits and pieces to get this thing running. But the tape deck unit, the part's going to be more difficult to get. So we're going to have to look into that and see what we can find. But should we take the screws out and have a look inside? So here we go. Just move the light quickly so we can see a little bit better. Here is the inside of the Argyle Minor tape deck. Interesting, right? So let's have a quick look, see what we can find. First thing I notice, we've got a TCC can cap here. It's multi-section, so it's, let me just rotate that for you. A 32, 32, 32, 25. And the 3232s are 300 volts. And the 2525 is, sorry, the 25 microfarad is 25 volts. So that might be the cathode bypass cap. All in one container. So hopefully that's not leaking, because that's going to be a nightmare to sort out. Output transformer. I assume it's the output transformer. No, mains transformer. That's the mains transformer. Here's the output transformer. Correct. So this is a real old school construction style. Some of you will be familiar with this. Some of you might not have ever seen anything like this before, but we've got our valve sockets up here. Look, there's a up here, sorry. Got a Mullard ECC83 there. This will be our EL 84. God, I've got 34s on the mind at the moment, sorry. With all of our components, and look, we've got some old wax caps which will definitely need swapping out. There's one at the back there as well. Some of these components are starting to a little bit dry and toasty. Some of the rest of them look okay. And we've got, buried under here, this red cap. Should we see if we can get in on it and have a look? Need more light. Focus. There we go. Just angle this TCC electrolytic out of the way and get you a good angle. You might be able to read what it says. 0.1 microfarad, 600 volt solar. I love stuff like this. And do you remember we talked about the car Rambler and the old Tonking Imperial? No, the Sky King, sorry. And people were saying, oh, they're so difficult to service. Well, do you know what? And this is what I say to everyone. You know, when you work on this stuff a lot, as I do, those amps are easy. You know, this is easy to service. Those amps are easy to service. Don't worry about it. If you're competent enough as a tech, you can do anything like this. So, yeah, that's where we are with that. But look how cool it is. Components mounted directly to sockets, look. Come on, focus. There we go. So, there you go, that's better. This resistor here, this is quite a common British style 50s, 60s resistor. I can't remember off the top of my head what we call them. It's not like the old American style roundies. But I guarantee that that resistor there will be way out of spec by now, especially if it's mounted so close to a socket. Guarantee that for everything. We have to do all the wax caps, as I said, clean all the switches up. That's a roundie, this brown one here. You see how the shoulders are not square? Can I get you in any further? If I move that out of the way, can we get you a better view? If you compare the green cap, you see it's got nice square shoulders. This one here is a lot more rounded, so we call that a roundie. They are usually out of spec and cracked in old radio equipment, so that will need checking. Got this one behind as well. We see anything else? I'm looking at this at the first time as you are, so I'm spotting things as I see them. That's the on-off switch. But what a time capsule, eh? What a time capsule. Isn't that interesting? So the plan, he doesn't mind spending some money on this, so we're going to do everything that this needs to keep it running and keep it going so he can use it and listen to the tapes that he wants to. So we're not budget limited on this, to be honest, although I kind of take this stuff on more as a passion project rather than as a money-making exercise. So I won't be charging him anywhere near the amount of labour that it might take me. But because for me, it's more important that we keep this stuff alive and we look after it, and it's all good to go. If we pull this EL34 off and have a look. And that's a mallard as well, look. Come on, get focusing. There we go. Cool. Excellent. So that's the Argyle Miner tape deck inside. It's got the, I should say, it has got an internal speaker, not round, what do you call them? Do you know what, this week my brain is completely gone. It's like a 6x9, what do you call them, oval speakers? Yeah, oval speakers, there you go. And apart from that, it's all pretty good. We'll have to find a way to service the tape mechanism. Make sure all the spindles and things are good. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find any more service data for this online. Just an update on the builds in progress. So I've populated the next Ainsley Lister board. I've done some underboard connections. I'm about to do my flying leads and twisties on that. So yeah, good progress on there. I'll show you the chassis. This is the Swiss one. So pots are in, bus bar in, all wired up. Good progress along here. Started doing more chassis work. So once the board is ready, I can drop that in and carry on with my connections on there. And I'm also making progress on the next PR18. This is a black panel one, 240 volt. Sockets are in, transformers are in, caps in. I've done the bias board, and I'm just about to start drilling the board, put the eyelets in, then I can populate that and do that one as well. So yeah, those two builds are coming on really, really nicely. And before I forget, I've got some bits on order for the 64 reverb unit. Mainly the filter caps. Now, I had to make a decision because the original caps are 40 microfarad and the nearest E12 value for modern caps would be 39 microfarad, but they don't make those. So my choice is either 33 or 47. So I've gone with 47s. To be honest with you, either will be fine, but I've gone with 47. So I've got some F&Ts on order for that. I still need to go through and test the caps on the board, but I'm not doing any of that until those electrolytics are installed. I can then fire this up and start taking some proper measurements. I did make a faux pas in the last video. I misspoke. I said I thought the 1287 was the reverb driver. I didn't mean that. I meant the first stage. Of course, the 6K6 is the reverb driver. So I'll show you the schematic, but essentially your signal, 2 stages of 1287, then the 6K6 driving the tank, and then the recovery stage is the 12AX7 7025. All right, so that's where we are with that. Got bits on order. Curious about this yellow cap, whether it's leaky or not. So we shall find out. And the rest of it, again, we'll check when it's up and running. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching once again. As you can see, the weather has turned nice again. So fingers crossed it stays nice and sunny for the rest of the week, because I'm racing at Silverstone again on Saturday, and the following weekend I'm up at Alton Park. So I'm really, really hoping the weather stays nice, it doesn't rain, and I can get some good racing in. Making good progress on all the amps. Thank you very much for watching. Comments down below. Join the channel like these guys have if you want to, and I shall catch you all at the next one.